Following the successful double feature of Grave of the Fireflies and My Neighbor Totoro, Studio Ghibli took up a new theatrical project, headed by Totoro director Hayao Miyazaki. Based on a novel by Eiko Karono, Studio Ghibli released a film about a young witch and her black cat in 1989, Majo no Takyubin, better known as Kiki's Delivery Service. In this story, when a witch reaches the age of 13, she leaves on a cloudless night when the moon is full to venture on her own and hone her skills. Young Kiki bids farewell to her family and friends as she flies away clumsily on a broomstick with her cautious black cat Gigi. Following an unfortunate rainstorm and taking a tumble into a train car full of hay and cows, Kiki and Gigi find a town by the sea, where Kiki decides to stay upon making an, grand entrance. During her stay in this new town, Kiki makes many new friends, such as Tombo, an aviation lover that is fascinated by Kiki's flight ability. When it turns out Kiki has a knack for delivering things to people, pregnant bakery owner Osono lets Kiki stay in a vacant room. From the bakery, Kiki operates a delivery service, acting as a flying mail carrier by bringing packages to customers. Throughout her deliveries, Kiki goes on more adventures and makes friends, one being an artist/crow befriender Ursula, and two more being kind elderly women named Madame and Barsa. I love this movie. It is by far my favorite Ghibli film, and it is my second favorite anime film behind The Boy and the Beast. I get kind of emotional talking about how much I adore Kiki's Delivery Service, and I've been so excited to do this episode. But that's just me. Was Kiki's tale bewitching to Western audiences? Did it have a bumpy flight? Or did it fail to even come off the ground? Today, we're going to discuss the English dubs of Kiki's Delivery Service, including its cast members, dub changes, and if this witch captured the hearts of viewers in the English-speaking world. Much like our story with My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service's first English dub was made by Streamline Pictures for Tokuma Shoten, shown as an in-flight movie on Japan Airlines in 1990, the year after the film came out. If you would like more details on Streamline, please see part 1 of the Totoro episode. Streamline Pictures' version of Kiki is a straightforward dub with no added dialogue or new music. In fact, unlike their dub of Totoro, not even the opening and ending are dubbed. But let's take a dive into the script. Some of the script was adapted for specific full mouth movement lip flaps, and it's done cleverly. Tombo saying "Kakui" in Japanese was changed to
"What a cool witch!"
when Kiki is bored in the shop waiting for customers. In the dub, she laments the idea of eating pancakes every day if she doesn't get business and that she'll be fat. Whereas in Japanese, she laments just the idea she'll need to eat hotcakes every day. Props to the scriptwriters for adapting these lip movements. And sometimes the script was changed to make more sense for Western sensibilities. For example, when Osono offers Kiki coffee, the dub changes it to hot chocolate. But that's all pretty minor and it doesn't change the plot of the movie or make it completely off script. Now for the cast list. Kiki in this dub is played by Lisa Michelson. If that name sounds familiar, that's because she was mentioned in the previous videos as she plays Satsuki in the Streamline Dub of My Neighbor Totoro. The ever-cautious Gigi is voiced by Kerrigan Mahan. Power Rangers fans may recognize his name from being the voice of Goldar in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He's also known for Bunta Fujiwara in some Initial D material and Zadaki in the Harmony Gold dub of Dragon Ball. Geeky flight aficionado Tombo is performed by Eddie Frierson. Again, going back to Power Rangers, Frierson has voiced multiple villains in the series, but most notably Frax in Time Force. He's also played Mamoru Takumura in Hajime no Ippo, or Fighting Spirit, and Ken Masters in Street Fighter II, the animated movie. Pregnant bakery owner Osono's actress is Alexandra Kenworthy. She is another name that may be familiar from my Totoro videos, as she played the role of Yasuko in that Streamline Dub. And to bounce off that note, the short of words but much of character husband Fukuo is voiced by Gregory Snegoff, who is also the voice actor of the father Tatsuo in My Neighbor Totoro. As a note, commenter Interstate 2011 pointed out Kenworthy is the mother of Snegoff. I just thought it was an interesting note is all. Edie Merman is the voice actress of the crow-friendly Ursula. She plays the role of Gatomon and the rest of that evolutionary line in Digimon. Fujiko Mine in the Streamline Dub of Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro, and Big Boss Baby in Boss Baby. She's also Barsa in this movie. Other voices on the cast include Barbara Goodson, Lara Cody, and Wendy Lee. and this dub was directed by Carl Masek. I mistakenly said Snegoff is the director of the My Neighbor Totoro dub, but nope, that was Masek too. Unlike Totoro though, this dub of Kiki didn't soar onto the big screen in America, or even home video. Instead, this dub was included on the Studio Ghibli Complete Laserdisc collection in Japan in 1996. But that's alright if Streamline's version never saw a release outside Japan, as another company would help Kiki off the ground to come to the US. Before we talk about Kiki's movie debut, Americans first experienced Kiki through a storybook. When My Neighbor Totoro debuted in 1993, it brought along with it 3 storybooks in a series named Tokuma's Magical Adventure Series, one of course being My Neighbor Totoro, one being Castle in the Sky, and one being, you guessed it, Kiki's Delivery Service. These books were abridged versions of the actual movies, and with the lack of an actual film to go with it, they had no real impact on Miyazaki's popularity beyond Totoro, so they greatly went under the radar. Disney struck a deal with Tokuma Shoten in 1996 to release several Ghibli films in the US, and on that list was Kiki's Delivery Service. In fact, Kiki's was the first film to be released under this partnership. In February of 1998, Disney formally announced they were going to release an English dub of Kiki's Delivery Service in the US. In an article for the New York Times, Vice President of Buena Vista, Tanya Maloney, stated that Kiki's Delivery Service was, quote, a sweet, sweet story. This contrasts with the description of anime painted by the article, calling it, quote, the risque and warlike corner of Japanese animation that has become hugely popular on video in the United States. The page goes on to state that the edgy side of anime is, quote, a small fraction of the enormous body of work turned out every year by Japanese animators. But that didn't stop Disney's worries about dipping its metaphorical toe into Japanese animation. But don't call Kiki's Delivery Service anime. Disney officials are skirting the term as if it were radioactive. This release brought hope to Western anime distribution. Marketing director for Manga Entertainment at the time, Greg Forster, stated his hope that Disney will, quote, bring anime into the mainstream. Central Park Media founder John O'Donnell added his expert analysis to the periodical. We say anime is all violence and sex, and so far that's right, because the other 95% hasn't been released here yet. The author of the article, Peter M. Nichols, speculated this little witch might be the start of an eventual boom for Japanese animation in America. So, let's start this analysis with Disney's voice cast. Once again, like other Disney dubs, this dub boasts a star-studded cast, so excuse me if this list gets a little in-depth. The role of Kiki is played by a teenage Kirsten Dunst. In her youth, Dunst was known for playing Judy Shepard in the 1995 film Jumanji and Claudia in Interview with the Vampire. Kiki was Dunst's second ever voiceover performance, the first being young Anastasia in, well, Anastasia. Dunst would later go on to become a massive weeb, as established in her music video for her cover of Turning Japanese. Kiki's black cat Gigi is voiced by Canadian-American actor and comedian Phil Hartman. You may remember him from such roles as Troy McClure on The Simpsons, Mr. Wilson in the 1986 Dennis the Menace cartoon, and that jerk neighbor Ted Malton from Jingle All the Way. He also was known for his many performances on Saturday Night Live. Matthew Lawrence performs Tombo in this dub. Like Dunst, Lawrence was young at the time, only being 18 when voicing the character. Lawrence back then was known for Chris Hilliard in Mrs. Doubtfire, Jack Hunter in Boy Meets World, and Matt Roman in Brotherly Love, amongst dozens and dozens of other roles. Lawrence gives Tombo a voice that cracks, layering it on top of his regular voice. Also known was performed by...
Yes, sir. Oh, hi there. Come in and wait a minute, will you?
That sounds like Tress McNeil.
You're right, Homer, that is Tress McNeil. McNeil is one of those voice actresses where she needs no introduction. But if you don't know the name, you definitely know the voice if you're a cartoon fan. She's famous for playing the roles of Dot in Animaniacs, Charlotte Pickles in the original run of Rugrats, and Lindsay Naegle on The Simpsons. And much like other members in the cast, these are only a few of the many roles. Husband Fukuo, with just a tad more dialogue in this movie but not much, is performed by Brad Garrett. He was Robert Barone, the brother, on Everybody Loves Raymond, Eeyore in some Winnie the Pooh material, and Hulk Hogan in Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. That's the fun of doing the VA profiles for some actors. I get to mention these really weird roles. Janine Garofalo provides the voice of Ursula. Garofalo can be seen and heard as Paula in The Larry Sanders Show, Carol, aka The Bowler in Mystery Men, and Colette Tattoo in Ratatouille. Said Garofalo in a behind the scenes of this dub, She doesn't know what she brings to Ursula other than a deep voice, which gives the implication of a strong female according to her. And the last fun little tidbit, Kath Soucie and Jeff Bennett are Kiki's mom and dad. For the cartoon savvy, they've also played another set of parents together, being Dexter's mom and dad in Dexter's Laboratory. But if you can't get enough cartoon voiceovers and celebrities appearing in anime, this film also features Corey Burton, Pamela Adlon, and Debbie Derryberry. Disney spared no expense on hiring the best of the best for this film, and the director for this dub is Jack Fletcher. Some of the projects he's directed are on screen now. Actors in this dub are used to having the animation work around them, not the other way around, and it's interesting to hear their perspective on anime dubbing. Kirsten Dunst said it was easier to match the emotions of a scene because it's right there in front of her, adding Kiki has the most adorable facial expressions, and she does. Hartman commented on the, quote, instant gratification of dubbing over existing footage, adding it takes a special set of skills to match lip flaps and emote a character that is already animated. Other actors noted the difficulty of matching lip flaps, but also said the nice thing about animation is you can do takes over and over until it's right. Dunst added how fun it was to have Hartman be with her character throughout the movie because he's so funny, stating how fun it was to work off of him. Former president of Studio Ghibli Toshio Suzuki praised the dub, saying the actors' performances made it feel like a true Disney film. However, according to former head of Studio Ghibli's international division Steve Alpert, Suzuki, upon watching an incomplete version of the dub, said nothing, but upon leaving the screening, said it was, quote, terrible, and wanted it rejected. Per Alpert, but then Disney formally presented to us their lawyer's claim that Suzuki had agreed to it because he hadn't objected when he saw it, and it became a big legal thing. Either way, Ghibli gave it a go-ahead. But even with the green lights, there are several changes to the film. Disney did not cut any footage or change any character names, but they did make many alterations. First, let's go over the okay that makes sense ones. First, the editors made paint edits to some Japanese writing into English. Second, some of the script was adapted for specific full mouth movement lip flaps, and it's done cleverly. Tombo saying "Kakkoii" in Japanese was changed to
What a cool witch.
When Kiki is bored at the shop waiting for customers, in the dub she laments the idea of eating pancakes every day if she doesn't get business and that she'll be
Fat! Fat! Fat!
Whereas in Japanese, she laments just the idea she'll need to eat hotcakes every day, every day, every day. So props to the scriptwriters for adapting these lip movements. And sometimes the script was changed to make more sense for Western sensibilities. For example, when Osono offers Kiki coffee, the dub changed it to hot cha. Hold on, this is sounding very familiar. Didn't we just talk about this like 10 minutes ago? Well, when Disney was in the process of dubbing this movie, Tokuma provided Streamline script, believing it was a direct translation from the Japanese version. It isn't, and it affected the Disney script. Some lines in this version are word for word the same as Streamline, but with the adaptation and writing differences, they're far and few between. Still, a lot of the quirks to the previous dub script are still in this version. That's where the minor changes end and the major changes begin. There is a lot of added dialogue to fill in silent moments, and much of that can be attributed to Gigi. Gigi keeps his cautious nature, but is rewritten to also be sarcastic, making many snarky remarks throughout the film.
And this would be interesting because...
It's a city floating on waves. Isn't it wonderful?
It's all right, I guess. Good day, hello. You'd think they'd never seen a girl and a cat on a broomstick before. That's right, you just keep sleeping. Nice doggy.
Other than Gigi's commentary, virtually every time Kiki's radio shows up, it is excessively foreshadowing the dirigible shown later in the film, called the Spirit of Freedom in this dub instead of Freedom Adventurer from Streamline. There's also dialogue where there was previously none, but it makes sense where it's placed, like the patrons of the bakery when Kiki first arrives there. They are silent in the Japanese version, but in the dub they speak. And the most notable change that directly impacts the story is an added line near the end of the plot. Spoilers if you haven't seen the film. Midway through the story, Kiki loses her magic, being unable to fly or communicate with Gigi, who now only meows like a regular cat. Worth noting too that in the Japanese version, these are realistic meows, but in the Disney dub, it is Phil Hartman meowing. Originally, right after the climactic moment of saving Tombo from falling to his doom, Kiki is never able to communicate with Gigi again, the message being she has grown up, no longer needing to talk to her cat. However, at the end of the dub, there's this line.
Kiki, can you hear me?
The editors decided to rewrite the ending so Kiki can talk to Gigi again as her magic has returned. Disney also added music of their own to sync up with the footage on the screen and fill in silent moments, composed by Paul Chihara, with the idea to, quote, make the film work for a US audience. While the adaptation keeps most of the Japanese background music, most of these new pieces followed the leitmotifs set by Joe Hisaishi's score. Notably, the opening and ending themes were replaced too. The doo-wop song about being cheated on called Ryuju no Dengon and the tenderly written Yasashisa ni Tsutsumare Nara, both by Yumi Matsutoya, were replaced by upbeat pop song Soaring and the mellow I'm Gonna Fly respectively. Both tracks performed by Sydney Forrest, or Sydney Taylor as she's known these days. Kiki's Delivery Service was Taylor's first gig with Disney. She watched the movie with no sound at all with her then boyfriend, now husband. Said Taylor over email to Anime News Network's Answer Man, "It was the first song we wrote together, so it is very special to both of us. We had broken up and went on a church retreat together and he helped me work on I'm Gonna Fly and ended up getting back together. And we're married 4 months later. Aw. Oh, and all these edits? If you saw my video about Totoro, you must be thinking, surely Disney consulted Studio Ghibli with these edits given their watchful eye on these projects. Why did Ghibli approve of all this?" What if I told you? These were done without permission. No joke, Disney made these changes without telling Ghibli. Sure, the editors didn't cut any footage or change any names, but all this added dialogue and music really didn't sit well with Steve Alpert. The blatant disregard for Ghibli's wishes resulted in Alpert bringing this up to an unnamed Disney executive, who in turn yelled at the producer. I've read claims Miyazaki approved these changes, but I can't find a reliable source of this information, so I'd rather take the word of someone directly from Ghibli over something that's dubious at best. Regardless of changes, this dub's debut at the Seattle International Film Festival on May 23, 1998 was a smash hit, and Disney looked forward to releasing it on home video later that year. But less than a week after the movie's premiere, tragedy struck. On May 28, 1998, Phil Hartman unexpectedly passed away, murdered in his home at the age of 49. The world mourned the loss of a renowned comedian and star, and Gigi was the final role he'd see while alive. Disney's version of Kiki's Delivery Service came to VHS on September 1st, 1998. The movie was advertised on various Disney VHS tapes, and shout out to these ads for spoiling the ending in the trailer. Included after the credits for this dub's release is a memorial screen to Hartman, a screen included in every release of this dub to date. 28 days later, Disney released the original Japanese audio version on VHS with English subtitles. Don't get too excited about these subs, as they're actually dub titles based on the Streamline Dub, as mentioned earlier. Come 1998, with Totoro being such a family favorite, Miyazaki was a name to know in animation. That said, reviews of this straight-to-home video were positive. Critics lauded the positive messages presented in the film, enjoyed the performances of lead voice talents Kirsten Dunst and the late Phil Hartman, and of course, praised Miyazaki's gorgeous, fluid animation. Ratings were generally 4 stars out of 5, or the equivalent. Quite a contrast from the theatrical release of Totoro in 1993, huh? On that note, let's bring up the biggest movie critic that loved My Neighbor Totoro, Roger Ebert. Once again, on his TV show Siskel and Ebert, he talked this film up, introducing it as a delightful and visually breathtaking animated feature. Ebert reiterated his love of how the main characters in these Hayao Miyazaki films are more like ordinary kids than mythical superheroes. He also gave praise to the English cast, calling the audio lovingly dubbed by Disney. Unlike his review of Totoro, Gene Siskel actually agreed with Ebert and loved this movie too. Siskel pointed out, of course, Kiki's Delivery Service has a different visual style from your typical animated feature, and he said it was fascinating to see Kiki go through her story.
Kiki is really almost on a conveyor belt through this story, and I was fascinated by someone who followed her raptly, never looked away. My 3-year-old son.
Siskel seems to have followed Ebert's advice on Totoro and watched this film with a child, Siskel's own child. Siskel noted that his son is into stereotypical boy stuff like monster truck rallies, so to see him enchanted by this movie was fascinating. There's just something wondrous about Ghibli films that can break barriers like that. While there are no exact sales numbers for this VHS release, Buena Vista representative Martin Blythe said Kiki was a hit. The sales numbers are not at The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride levels, but Kiki looks to have a good future when we re-promote it. Because of how well this movie did, Buena Vista considered possibly doing a theatrical release of their next Ghibli film in the pipeline, Castle in the Sky. Kiki's Delivery Service arrived on DVD on April 15th, 2003, with English, Japanese, and Spanish audio tracks available. This release has a brief intro by former Pixar CEO John Lasseter, who is a huge Miyazaki fan. And there are even some bonus features. Disc 1, which also has the movie, contains the original Japanese trailers and a behind the mic segment featuring the English voice actors, which you've seen throughout this video. And Disc 2 has storyboards of the film. Isn't that neat? Kiki had truly ascended to stardom in the West, with rave reviews and excellent sales numbers overall, all without a theatrical release. She really was the little witch that could. So that's it, right? 2 dubs, 1 never made it out of Japan, 1 did and was a runaway success. We're good to go, time to show the credits, right? Not quite. On March 2nd, 2010, Disney re-released their dub of Kiki's Delivery Service on DVD. This English dub must just be the dub from the VHS tape in the 2003 DVD, right? Don't be deceived, as the English audio track on this is, funny enough, an edit of their edited version. Disney changed this dub to be more like the Japanese version. All the extra dialogue was removed. The opening and ending were changed to the Japanese originals, and the background tracks not in the Japanese version were edited out. And this is worth mentioning. Disney must have not had the raw recordings of this dub, as it's very apparent in the audio mastering they removed the dub exclusive tracks manually instead of just adding the voice lines on top of the Japanese soundtrack. If you listen to Kiki's high-pitched voice in this version, there is noticeable distortion in her audio throughout the film, some lines more apparent than others.
Hey, Mom! Oh. Hi, Miss Dora. Hey, Mom, it's gonna be clear tonight. Hey, Mom! Oh. Hi, Miss Dora. Hey, Mom, it's gonna be clear tonight.
As of now, this dub is the version most widely available, to the chagrin of those hoping to hear Phil Hartman's sardonic commentary as Gigi. Despite this revision to the dub, to this day, a proper subtitled version of Kiki's Delivery Service isn't available. Every subtitled version officially available uses the dub titles from Streamline, and it's baffling to me how nobody has officially gone back to do the subtitles. Like, why? Alright, so, you ready for even more confusion? Because I sure am. I used a VPN to connect to Netflix in Italy. In some other countries, they show the 1998 Disney version complete with Hartman's improvised lines and Sidney Taylor's tracks. I have zero explanation on this one. By the way, I am not sponsored by the VPN I used. This movie was successful from the moment Disney released it, being a hit by word of mouth and VHS trailers. Even those not into these easygoing films were entranced by its charm. Just like many other Ghibli films, despite being over 30 years old as of writing, it's aged so gracefully. It's still a highly recommended anime film, let alone a film in general. It has a 98% certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. On my anime list as of writing, it has an 8.22 out of 10 rating across 289,610 users, ranked at 295 of all time. And the dub is still well regarded too, even with its flaws. Okay, so I'm talking this film up. If you haven't seen this film yet or want to rewatch it, the distribution rights are currently owned by G-Kids, so don't expect to find this on Disney+. Your easiest find if you're in North America is the 2010 Disney dub and the original Japanese version with Streamline Dub titles. Ugh. Available to own digitally on YouTube, Google Play, Apple TV, Vudu, or Amazon Prime Video, or to stream on HBO Max. For the 1998 dub, look on eBay, Amazon, or any secondhand websites to find either the VHS tape from 1998 or DVD from 2003. The Streamline dub, as I like to say, Google it, it's out there. Unless you want to shell out the money for that rare Laserdisc, given you can even find it. Kiki's Delivery Service continues to be a widely enjoyed movie by audiences of all ages, and helped Disney break into the anime market with a bang. Its influence can still be felt today and will be for years and years to come. Woo! Happy Halloween, everyone. Sorry if this video was a bit more long-winded than others in the series, but I sincerely hope you enjoyed this treat of a retrospect. Please, if you enjoyed this, give me a like, subscribe, and leave in the comments what did you think of the dubs of Kiki's Delivery Service. Were you enchanted by this witch's spell too? What else would you like to see in this series? I am always listening to your suggestions. Shout out to my supporters on Patreon and subscribers on Twitch on screen now. Supporters on either platform get to see my videos before they're uploaded via my exclusive Discord server, so if you'd like to support me in the same way, please consider joining. Until next time, take care. Hi, so you're probably wondering where the next episode preview is. Well, that's going to be up to you, the viewers. Please see my video about Extra Life, a charity I support every year for my local children's hospital. There are 4 choices of what's next, either Anpanman, Sergeant Keroro, Cyborg Kuro-chan, or Rave Master. Cast your votes by going to the link on screen and in the description. Oh, but I would like to add, I am aware we have hit 500 subscribers. I won't be announcing it here, but I will be announcing the 500 subscriber special episode very soon. Okay, you guys can have a hint. The final hint is it has an English dub that was made in Asia. I'll see you next time.